Yeah, this is your good day, my viewers and learners all over the world. This is your regular host, Valentine. This is another session on metric units. Metric units said we can convert metric units by multiplying or dividing by 10, 100, or 1000. This is just like the summary in converting from one unit to another. So I've taken my time to bring out all these. These are the most common ones, though there are so many out there, but for revision purposes and for the sake of those going in for an exams by next month, which is May, I thought it wise to compile some common units of measurement to make life a lot easier for learners or viewers or anyone practicing doing their personal revision, going in for any exam or test. So these are the most common ones I've been able to compile. So what this simply means is, let's take for instance, there's a set 1000 meter makes 1 kilometer. So if you are converting from meter to kilometer, you divide by 1000. And if you are converting from kilometer to meter, you multiply by 1000. In summary, what this simply means is 1000 meter is equal to 1 kilometer. In other words, 1 kilometer is greater than 1000 meter. So logically, we say 1000 meter make 1 kilometer. So if you are converting from 1000 meter, if you are converting from meter to kilometer, meaning if you are converting from the smallest to the bigger one, you divide by 1000. And if you are converting from the bigger one to the smaller one, you multiply by 1000. In other words, 1000 meter is equal to 1 kilometer. If you are going converting from meter to kilometer, you divide by 1000. And if you are converting from kilometer to meter, you multiply by 1000. Another common one we know is grams. So if you are converting from grams to kilograms, so 1000 grams make 1 kilogram. So if you are going from grams to kilogram, you divide by 1000. And if you are converting from kilogram to gram, you multiply by 1000. I know questions. One will say, how do I remember all this? You remember this if you put it in practice. So you need to solve questions that revolves around this. So you need to solve questions concerning conversion units that involves conversion of units. So let's take for instance, look at this. We said Jody has 2 liter bottle of milk. She used 250 milliliter. How much milk did she have left? How much milk does she have left? So this is common to this. So we say 1000 millimeter makes to 1 liter. So what we need to do is we need to convert everything. You need to put them in the same unit of measurement. So converting 2 liters to milliliters. Remember, we said 1000 millimeters make 1 liter. So if you are converting from liters to millimeters, you multiply by 1000. So in other words, 2 liters is the same thing as 2000 milliliters. So we take away 250 from 2000 millimeters, you have 1750 millimeters. So what I'm trying to say is the more you practice questions on conversion of units, the more you get better at it. So let's move on to the next slide and see some practice questions we need to look at. In our usual way of doing things, we'll solve. So we'll look at questions number 4A and B. Then we'll encourage our learners or viewers to have a go at CT5. Then we'll look at this one. Let's look at this. So then we'll look at question number 8. I believe this is a lot tricky question. This is a tricky question. So we look at question number 8 and 4A and B. The first thing first said convert 3 meters to centimeters. In other words, so we need to know 100, we'll need to state that 100 centimeter make 1 meter. Yeah, I know it's not automatic. I will encourage my learners or viewers, if you struggle with this, you can revise back to the previous slides where I have the where I've put together common conversion units, converting from one unit to the other. You can make reference to that. With constant practicing, you get used to it. So in this case, we'll say 100 centimeter is equal to 1 meter. So if you are converting from centimeter to meter, you divide by 100. I love doing this because it helps me to know what to do at each point in time. So, but if you are converting from meter to centimeter, you multiply by 100. Now we need to go back to the question. Say convert 3 meters to centimeters. 3 meters to centimeters, because remember, if you are converting from meter to centimeter, you multiply by 100. In other words, our answer will be 3 times 100. That will be 300 centimeter. Now let's look at the next one. The next question says convert 8 kilometers to meters. So remember that 1000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. So if we are converting from meter to kilometer, you divide by 1000. Divide by 1000. Divide by 1000. And if you are converting from kilometer to meter, you multiply by 1000. Multiply by 1000. So we go back to the question saying convert 8 kilometers to meters. So we are going from kilometers to meter. You are timesing by 1000. So that will be 8 times 1000. Your final answer becomes 8000 meters. So this is this. This is this. Let's look at this other question. Question number 8 is a little bit tricky, but we need to pay attention to details. So this first statement says a bucket weighs 800 grams. When half filled with water, the bucket weighs 4.5 kilograms. Work out the weight when the bucket is filled with water. So you can see the units of measurement are not the same. So what we need to do first and first, we need to put them all in the same unit of measurement. So let's start. So the first step we need to take is saying 1000 gram, our unit of measurement. We know that 1000 gram is equal to 1 kilogram. So if we are converting from gram to kilogram, we are dividing by 1000. We divide by 1000. But if we are converting from kilogram to gram, we are multiplying by 1000. So the next step is we need to go back to the question. The first things first, the weight of the bucket. You can see the weight of the bucket, converting this 800 gram to kilogram. You divide 800 by 1000. So that will be 800 divided by 1000. Doing this manually, we'll take the invisible decimal here, we'll count 1, 2, 3. So that will give us 0.8 kilogram. That's the weight of the bucket. So the question says, when half filled with water, the bucket weighs 4.5 kilogram. When half filled with water, the bucket weighs 4.5 kilogram. In other words, remember, the bucket alone weighs 0.8 kilogram. And we are told that when half filled with water, the bucket weighs 4.5 kilogram, meaning the water has added to the weight of the bucket. So what we need to do is we need to sort out the actual weight of the water inside the bucket. To do that, we'd say 4.5 kilogram, 4.5 kilogram minus 0.8 kilogram, because we are trying to get the actual weight of the water. So if you take 4.5 kilogram minus 0.8 kilogram, that will give us 3.7 kilogram. So just the water alone weighs 3.7 kilogram. The water alone weighs 3.7 kilogram. I repeat, let's take some steps backwards again. We said a bucket weighs 800 gram. So converting 800 gram to kilogram, you divide by 1000. That will give us 0.8 kilogram. Now this next sentence said, when half filled with water, the bucket weighs 4.5 kilogram. Meaning the water, when half filled, has weight plus the weight of the bucket, which is 0.8 kilogram. Their total weight gave us 4.5 kilogram. So we need to find out, we need to determine the actual weight of the water when half filled. So to do that, we need to subtract the weight from the weight of the bucket from the total weight. So the actual weight of the water when half filled is 3.7 kilogram. Now, the final question says, work out the weight when the bucket is filled with water. When the bucket was filled with water, now what we need to do, you remember when it was half filled is 3.7 kilogram. So when it's filled with water, you add this again. This is half filled. You add 3.7 kilogram. So 3.7 kilogram plus 3.7 kilogram will give us 7.4 kilogram. 7.4 kilogram. Then you need to add the actual weight of the bucket again. So you add 0.8 kilogram to it. So 7.4 kilogram plus 0.8 kilogram will give us 8.2 kilogram. Therefore, 8.2 kilogram. Therefore, the weight of the bucket when filled with water will give us 8.2 kilogram. So we've come to the end of the session. So what we need to do is to go to our answer slide and see and cross-check if we've gotten the right thing. Yeah, this is correct. And this is correct. This is correct. So as usual, I will always encourage my learners or viewers to practice. The more you practice, the more better you get at what you are doing. As we approach the exams come May 15 and June 4th, I will encourage my learners or viewers, those having their private or personal revision, to please practice more. You practice more, keep practicing, all things being equal, that desired grade 4 and above will be achieved. Thank you very much. As usual, if you still struggle with any of these questions, please drop the comment in my comment section and I'll be more than happy to help. Thank you very much. And this is your regular host, Valentine. And see you in the next session. Bye.